Alright you guys, so it's finally time to talk about the tuning portion of this car right over here. So I guess I'm going to talk about the importance of like tuning, who you choose and what to do, and a couple of things that probably would help your car not blow up. That's what I'm trying to do. The first tip I would suggest, a lot of people suggest this too, is to get the tune before you even start putting in the parts that you need for the car. So that makes sure that you do have a running car right after you install the certain parts, so that way you can check for leaks or make sure the car is even running or not. The reason why that's important is, at least for my tuner, it's from HRI Tuning. So he's basically a one-man person running the company. He's the only one tuning the car, so it does take a little bit of time from the first time you order the tune to get back to you. So make sure when you order the tune, you order it before you're actually installing the parts, so that his name is James from HR Tuning. He can get back to you before you install the part. That way you have the tune on hand. And another thing, like always, I do recommend HR Tuning, but it's always good to research it on your own, just to make sure that the tuner that you have is what's best for you. In my case, that's what I wanted to do, because for the first thing, James tunes are usually unlocked. So what that means is that the ROMs, you can actually open them up and do your own edit, which makes it a little bit riskier to beginners, because if you do mess up something in there, then you could blow up your car. But other tuners like Delicious Tuning or CSG, I think Counterspace Garage, usually have their tunes locked. That includes Visconti too, because you don't want tunes kind of getting passed around and people reverse engineering it. But I guess in James' perspective, you paid for the file and you paid for the tune, so it's yours to keep. You should be able to do whatever you need to do with it. So that is the biggest reason I went with HRI Tuning, because of that unlock tunes, because I want to be able to kind of reverse engineer it later on, just to add in a little bit of my touches on it, mostly like the pop and bang tunes. I know people have a lot of bad things to say about that, but it's just the learning process. I want to be able to learn how to actually edit parameters to have that done, and just out of curiosity too. But yeah, those are really, so usually bad for the car, but it's the learning experience that I'm after. Now with that in mind though, I would still have to spend a little bit more money to get that Pro ECU license thing that they do, just so you can unlock more or read more parameters on the tune itself, because on default tune, at least, or default license, you can only see like the basic maps or parameters. But when you buy that license thing, you'll be able to do that and make custom maps for the car. And again, I'm in it to learn it, so there's actually a nice neat tool for that. So if you compare a stock ROM to a modified ROM, you can actually see what the tuner has changed. So that's what I'm really in for too. So it's the knowledge of the parameters you need to kind of change to get a stock tune car to a forced induction car. But if you just want the tune itself, HRI Tuning is actually also a good tuning company, because there's a lot of good comments and feedbacks from the community saying that he's one of the legendary tuners out there. I think he's tuned around 1,000 to 1,500 cars. So, and I think, don't quote me on this, I don't think any has blown up because of the tune, but rather because of the lack of supporting mods and stuff. But you never know. But the point is, for all the cars he's tuned, probably like 3 or 5 maybe blew up. But as they come out and talk to the community, it's usually they usually say that it's not the tune's fault, but rather than like the engine giving out and running high boosts and stuff. So as far as reputation wise, HR Tuning is a really good company to go to. Alright, so for those who aren't familiar or first time doing this kind of e-tune thing, I was confused too. That's why the video took a little bit of time to make, because I've been actually at around my final revisions now. It's been a while. So the way it works is, when you purchase a tune, James actually sends out an email stating what kind of stuff you have in the car. So the best safe way to do this is to actually give them the full mods list of your car. I mean, I guess suspension or tire specs not really going to be important, but if you want to, you could put a category on like tire specs or something. Just put it out there just in case. Maybe he can suggest something too, because if you're running skinny tires or skinny rims, then he can probably suggest that you run a boost by gear, meaning that in first gear you would boost up to 7 psi, second gear you'd boost up to 10, just to keep that wheel from spinning because of those, tire size. But yeah, just put up your specs out there, make sure you have everything as far as the engine modifications that you've done to make sure that everything goes as planned. Once you do that, he'll get back to you. Usually the response times are around 1 to 2 days, at least for me. There's a couple of times where holidays are in, so people got to take holidays too, and like I said, he's the only guy running there, so there's times that are it's busy. So there is one time that I actually didn't get back anything for a week, and I just emailed him asking, hey, what's going on, and he just said that, oh, he must have not gotten it, so just bump that email if you don't get a response time. But the thing is, only send one email at a time, because it comes, it's a kind of a first come first serve kind of system. So once you send out email, you kind of go on top of the line, and then people kind of follow through. So when you're sending the logs or an email, make sure that it's one time thing, and you don't send in follow-up emails, because that way your queue is basically ruined if you do that. The best thing to suggest in regards to that is, when you're sending out an email, make sure you send out everything that you need, so that everything can be tuned accordingly and in one go. So once you've sent out your parts list, he'll usually get back to you with a base map, and then you're going to be running that in your car. So the first thing you would do once you get that base map, to obviously flash the car with it. So I'm going to go ahead and try to walk you guys in the steps of doing that properly. But basically, once you have that, at least for me in my case, once you have that base map in, you would James instructed me. I have my email open up here on my computer. I don't want to show you guys because I'm not wearing pants. But yeah. In the email, he did say that he instructed me to give a casual drive of around 10 to 15 minutes and logging that with EcuTEK. So with all the default parameters selected, I'm going to show you guys that later too. And the most important thing is, with this base map, you guys shouldn't do any kinds of pull. So in my case, I did ask what is casual driving, and that's usually staying under 4,000 RPMs, no more, because that's considered like trying to pull. And yeah, so I'll show you guys a step-by-step process of doing that tuning. So with the contrast and lighting here, I hope you guys don't see my legs too much here. I am wearing boxers, so no pants, but it's nighttime. I was supposed to go to sleep but couldn't sleep, and here I am making this video. But anyway, so the first thing you would want to do is to get your your revision here. So in my case, my revision is right there. I'm in my 15th revision. I would say it took probably around 1.5 months to get to that final-ish revision. There's still a little bit of stuff that I need to get fine-tuned for that. But in this case, first step is to open up the EcuTEK, EcuTEK. I'm not too sure anymore how to pronounce it. App here in a computer, but with your stuff plugged in. So your dongle here, and your in my case, it's a Bluetooth interface. So I just plug this here and to the Bluetooth thing. So what you're gonna find is, if you haven't run this in a long time, I guess this one has been a while, it's gonna ask you to update it, which kind of takes a while. But let that run, and then we'll go on to the next step. And also, another tip while we're at it is my thing here, my dongle. So I actually bought an extension here because I tend to pull this in and out, and that risk damaging the actual pins down there. So in this case, since you have this little extension here, if you manage to damage some kind of pins here, it'll just be this adapter and you can get a new one. But if you do that in your original one there, that's probably more painful to swap out. So that's one of the tips I would suggest you guys do, just because, keep your car a little bit happier. Alright, so once you're done with that update, you're going to be greeted with just an empty screen here, except for this top bottom piece here. First thing you're going to do is press the ignition twice. So 1, 2. That puts you in ignition mode, and once you have that, you can go ahead and go to I guess I'll do it with my other hand. Tools here, and detect the vehicle. Alright, so it's gonna say that yada yada yada. Press OK. Program engine ECU. There you go. And then once you have that, you can go ahead and go to choose ROM. You'll just go to whichever folder, wherever you put that ROM in. click that. I already have it selected, and then you can go ahead and program the ECU like so, and it'll just run through. Right, so you have that thing there that says preparing to download. Make sure you do have a good battery in your car when you do this, because I heard of people where their car has died doing this and they basically break their ECU. So you have the transfer data percentage right over there, and in addition to that, you also have your cluster here. Right, so here's what I'm talking about. It's gonna go way up there. It's at 92%. Well, I guess it's not going to 9K then. So it's on there, 100%. It's gonna tell you to switch the ignition to off. So all you do is press this, right? And it's gonna detect that. Please wait 1 second. Switch it back to on. Bam, bam. It'll detect that too. And it's gonna ask you. Remember, it's gonna ask for DCT clear or something like that. So it's gonna. Okay, so restarting the ECU. Yep, there we go. Do you want to also clear the DCs? And you just click yes on that. Yes. Blah 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 blah. I don't know why it always does that with the error, but then it processes through. I'm not a coding person, so there we go. So programming sequence has been completed. Okay, and that should be it. Your car is all flashed up. And one thing to do, I don't remember if it had this on the previous versions, but I don't remember where I saw. I think it was the OFT tablet, So what I would suggest is kind of just let it idle. So when you start it, let it idle and do not press the gas or anything like that, just to make sure that the ECU calibrates itself with the fuel trims and whatnot. So yeah. Alright, and again, I'll just give you guys like an introduction on what kind of vlog stuff to look out for when you guys are tuning. So I'll go through this list here, I guess. The first thing is advanced multiplier. Again, it's good to have it it's good to have it from 0.7 to 1. So somewhere around there should be okay. If it's going under, that means you have bad gas, or you're knocking, or your tune isn't, up to spec. And the next up is AFR actual and AFR target. So the way I understand this is at actual, that's the actual, air fuel ratio that you have. And AFR target is what your car is asking for. So as long as you're in a reasonable range, not too high up, not too high down, you should be good. In this case, it's around maybe 5% or 10% difference, somewhere around there. Can't really do the math right now, but that means that, in this case, it's all right. Not the best, I guess, since it's not as close as you want it to be. And also, that's probably when I'm like lifting off or something. But yeah, the way it is when your AFR is high, it's going lean, and if your AFR is going low, then it's going rich, right? So lean is bad because explosion usually occurs in that area, and rich is also bad because I guess it heats up the engine more, right? And all right, engine speed, that's self-explanatory, RPM. So in this case, at dang it, where'd it go? All right there. So that means, for example, in this case, at 5 or almost 6K, I'm hitting a manifold pressure of 24.48 psi. So that is absolute pressure. So, but you got to convert that to, I think, gauge pressure is what it's called. So to do that, you have to the rule of thumb is usually subtract 14.7 because that's sea level. So if you subtract 14.7 for that from that manifold pressure, you should get your boost pressure. So that's the current boost pressure that's being detected by your map sensor, right? So that's something to look out for. Make sure your car is not over boosting. Make sure it's boosting in the right amount. And oh my god, I forgot this knock correction. So as you guys can see, that's like pinkish. I have knock right over here, right over there. It's touchscreen. I can't pick it, but yeah, there you go. So negative 0.5, nothing to worry about. That's really minimum. What you would worry about is the lower it is, the worse it is, I guess. And the more frequent or the more knock you have, the worse it is, basically. So that's something that you guys should, kind of be familiar with and check on your own, just to make sure, your car is up to spec and it's healthy and it's not gonna explode on you. But yeah, Alright, so as far as logging, there's two ways to do it. The first way is to do it with the EcuTEK application in the computer. So this is more so for people who don't have the Bluetooth kit, because the Bluetooth kit is much more convenient because you can do logging basically in your phone. So to do it in the computer though, I'll show you guys that. So what you do is, right now the car is off, but you can still kind of log it when the ignition is on. Just gonna tell you like basically 0 on some of the stuff. But what you do is you go to recent ROM, and then you click on the latest ROM that you have. So in my case, right, and then after that you go to live data right here, and basically that's your log right there. And then you do that, and then you go to map access. That gives you like the stuff here. So when your car is running, this is going to be changing with your stuff, right, because your car is running. And then after that, you would, after you're done logging, you can put this in your side right there. You can go ahead and log to file. That's, I have no idea what that does. Let me find out real quick. Alright, sorry, I was unprepared. I usually use my phone to log, so never this app, and I figured I'd show you guys, but I thought I was gonna know what I was gonna do, but I didn't. So once you press this a log file here, when it's green, that means that it's recording. So once you finish logging, you basically click it again and it stops recording, and then you can get your file from your EcuTEK folder. And to find your log file, you would have to go to your EcuTEK folder where you installed it, go to map access logs, and then that's going to be where your log files are. You can go ahead and click that. So whenever you're reading a log file, you can either open it from Excel or open it with the EcuTEK app. So in this case, it's better to look at it in the EcuTEK app. I'm not sure why you would even look at it in Excel. Maybe you want raw data. So in this case, it's 126 here. Oh no, just open it. To see the log, you would then see this stuff right here. You can, to be honest, I haven't really spent that much time looking at this stuff here. It seems more complicated. That's why I usually upload my data logs to datasap.com. But the only disadvantage of that is you can only upload, I think, 10 minutes worth of log time, depending on the parameters you have. In my case, 10 minutes for me. So this one here doesn't have a time limit. It's just the file size limit, and datasap's like 3 MB. So if you guys want to learn how to use this stuff, let me know how to use it. I mean, it's not complicated, but I really haven't spent time trying to work it. It's pretty, I feel like there's more convenient features here than datasap, but yeah, kind of too hard now. Don't have the time to learn it. But yeah, once you do that, though, you can go ahead and exit this thing here. You don't need that, right? And the other way of doing logs is with your phone. So that one's a little bit more self-explanatory. I don't think I need to show that, do I? Well, I'm gonna use screen record then. Okay. Alright, so here I am doing the screen recording stuff that I'm using for the first time in my phone. So in this case, you download the EcuTEK Connect or EcuTEK app, right, from Google Play. In this case, you go to My Car, and it says that I'm using the USB. Okay, well, unplug that. There we go, and then try again. Aha. So now it detects that I'm in Bluetooth, and then you just go to data logging, and again, a lot more convenient because it's in your phone. And there you go. There's all your stuff there, right? So one of the parameters I always like to set is the cylinder misfire right over here. Here. Usually it's not on by default, but it's nice to see what, you know, if you're ever having misfires or not. Usually 1 or 2 is okay, I think I read. But when you're having a lot, is where you have a lot of problems. And also the WG is not currently set now, I believe. So to set that, you would go here and then find WG duty. Oh yeah, WG duty final. That's for again, tuning your boost controller and stuff. If you don't have that, you don't need to. But this guy, I'll just show you guys either way. No battery, dang it. Okay, where is it? What am I looking for? Boost target. There we go. So you do that. You don't even have to save it. You just press back, and then it'll reset. Then you'll see that right over here, WG duty final, and then boost target. Voila. Alright, so I'm gonna end that recording, or actually not yet. So once you have those and you're logging, you basically just do start, right? Something like that. Again, the car is off right now, so you should be, all the stuff should be moving, right? Do your logs. Once you finish, stop, go back, go to my files, go to data logs, and look at that, I have 98 data logs. And then you click this thingy here, right? And you can press this share button by the delete button. I don't want to open it because then you guys will see like all my contacts and stuff. But yeah, once you have that, you get a little of get some information here. As you guys can see, I flashed this thing 29 times. So keep in mind, with everything that you flash, there's probably a limit on how much you can flash things. Maybe for example in this car 1,000 times, who knows. But yeah, after that, send it to yourself, send it to your email, and then just get it from there. Send it to the tuner or upload it in data log, put it in your computer, do whatever you want with it. But yeah, tell your data log on the phone. There we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this screen recording. So again, I'll just walk through my email. I have it in my laptop right now, and kind of tell you guys what the process is from getting to the base map all the way to the, as you guys can see right there, the E85 tune. So this is at least what I've experienced myself. So other things may vary in your condition, so just keep that in mind. But I want to give you guys an idea of what happened with my car. At least there were some hiccups here and there, but nothing that James wasn't able to solve. But here it is. So once you have that base map flashed, he basically asked me to do a normal casual driving 10 to 15 minutes, and again, that's just around under 4K, not pushing the car too much. And I'm gonna show you guys later on to how to do the data logging and stuff. When I did flash the car, I did have a check engine light. It was a P0102, something to do with I believe the map sensor. Don't quote me on that though. And according to James, it's not an issue. It probably just needs to be disabled in the ROM. So he didn't do that the first couple of revision, because I guess to get with the tuning process, probably not important. So I went with the check engine light with the P0102, and I sent him my first log. So I mentioned that the car was running rough and it was dying when stopping. So kind of like a rough idle kind of thing. So I was driving around, the car would stop when I was in a stop sign. After that, he did mention that the log looked good. There wasn't any real significant error in the load or model or fueling that would generally cause it to stop. So he's suspecting that my cams, I guess, I'm not too sure what these mean because I'm not a tuner, but you know, it's a plus to have an explanation of what's happening. So he explained that the cams are failing to come on quickly upon startup, especially when cold. And it's probably an issue that's not being seen in the logs, and it has to do with port injection calibration. So remember, the car does have new port injections. Tuners usually have to scale that properly and then dial it in to have the car running perfect. So let's see. Alright, so in the next log, he asked me to kind of do a log of the startup and then the casual driving. So I did that. What I noticed with James is it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's always good to kind of double check someone's work, right, in your car. In my case, I was doing some light research on what I should be looking out for when it comes to logging and the different log parameters that I'm looking at. So in this case, I found that I did mention that short-term fuel trims were around 30%, and it drops as soon as idle is like in the warm area where car is kind of warm up. And I've also kind of give him like suggestions. I don't know if it's good to kind of do that, because like in a doctor's office, you're not supposed to kind of diagnose yourself and then give them give the doctor idea of what wrong with you. So I was kind of doing that. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or bad thing, but I did mention that I have a lighter street light flywheel from ACT, so maybe that was causing the stalling issues that I had. And for some reason I also mentioned that I have the fuel starvation door thing. Like I said, I didn't mention that in my or I don't remember if I mentioned that in my first initial email, but I think I did, but just kind of to put it out there again. But yeah, and then I stupidly asked, hey, can I put E85 at this point, because I didn't know any better. So the way it works is you tune in 91 or 93 octane first, and then you do 85. So just keep that in mind. Right, so I sent them the log, and then he got back to me, gave me another revision, and he told me again to do more of the cruising stuff, and then the next one would be a pull. So everything from there was smooth now. Alright, so once he sent in that new ROM again, I think I'm at revision, what am I, 4 now. He told me to do a pull from 3000 RPM there all the way to redline, if possible. Thanks. Now that's the another safety factor you gotta put in consideration. That's third gear, and that usually goes up to 85-86 miles per hour. So when you're doing these pulls, make sure you have a very open road, and it's nice and flat, because you don't want that fluctuation in RPM range when you hit a bump and you know, the highway or road, something like that. So just make sure it's like an abandoned road, and watch out for cops, I guess. Or ideally do it in Mexico. Alright, so in this case it was just a third gear pull, no need for that casual driving stuff. And I sent them that log, and then he gave me another revision. I got in trouble because I guess I was doing the pull at around 2000, which is really bad for the engine, because it tends to knock at lower load and the engine starts logging. So he saw that and I was like, oh crap. It's kind of like getting trouble from the teacher or something. Felt like that. But yeah, make sure you do it from 3K to redline. Alright, gave him the next third gear pull. At this point, he told me to put in some E85 and get my fuel, or I guess my gauge, up here to E60, because I still have 91 octane in the tank. I think I put a full tank on it, and you know, I can't just like siphon. I tried to siphon it out, but all I did was breathe in gas vapor, and yeah, that hurt. So I try to get my gas to go down as fast as I could by doing like a couple pulls. That was from full tank. I was trying to get the gas to basically, you know, I was basically trying to waste gas, and in California right now gas is really expensive. So I did that. I got my tank up to like 1/4, just driving around in my neighborhood, or the straight lines here, and it was fun. That was fun. And filled it up with E85, and in that case it wasn't full 85 because I still had a fourth tank of 91 octane, so it was around E65, which is good enough. He did mention that it's E60 and plus, so that was good there. And with that, and once I got it up to E60, I gave him the log for that, so it's kind of like a cruising log. Again, no wide open throttle this time, no watt as they call it. So keep it under 4K and don't push the pedal in all the way, kind of like a regular cruising kind of thing. And then he didn't give me a revision, so good thing, because I was actually doing some pulls which I probably wasn't supposed to, but since he didn't give me a revision, it meant that it was safe, right? Kind of, but you know, don't do that. And gave him a third gear full from E60, and I gotta tell you, that felt really good. So E65 ethanol content at around, I think, 7 or 8 psi felt really good. Alright, so sent him that third gear pull, and then he sent me a revision. At this point I was at Rev 6 and gave him another pull for that. And then I asked him if there was some kind of over boost protection here where it cut fuel is built in the tune, and I asked him what psi, and then I also asked him if I could integrate flat foot shifting, launch control, because it wasn't enabled by the pull to you. So that's one thing to keep in mind too, is if you want certain features, make sure you ask. And then he got back to me saying that yes, there is over boost protection on it, and he didn't mention what PSI, but that's a good thing that does have it, because the first time I ran this car, I accidentally left the the wastegate pressure out the hose, and I saw my car boost up to 13 PSI on 91 octane, and that was like a semi heart attack. So good thing that was during my off-the-shelf tune from Visconti. Good thing that thing had boost protection, because that would have blown up the car for sure. And then after that, he also told me, hey, what kind of maps you want in the car. So I told him, since I am running a Grimspeed boost controller, I wanted an 8 psi map, usually for 91 octane, 10 psi map just for E85, and then finally a 10 psi map for also E85. And then one problem I had was the car was still stalling during hot days. So right now it's cold, but back then it was kind of hot, and it would reach like let me see what I wrote here. Okay, so yeah, so it still had that like stalling issues. So leaving the car out in the sun after driving to the mall, at one point I told them, while going home, my intake temp showed around 160 to 170 from sitting, right? So I proceeded to drive the car, and it would randomly stall to a stop until it starts cruising, basically, lower intake air temperature. And then but there was that one case where it was already cold and it still stalled. And then again, the check engine light P0102 came back. So I guess I forgot to mention that it did go away, but then it came back after the car stalled. In addition to that, I also asked about the ethanol or the long-term fuel trims to know if I'm running lean or not. But he did mention that that's not a good indication. It's a good first kind of guide if you have a leak or something. Again, I'm not a tuner. I tried my best to kind of learn these terms, but never really understood them fully. But yeah, he mentioned that not a good indication. You're supposed to look at the AFR actual and target, make sure that there's a certain kind of threshold. So that's how you kind of figure out if you're running lean or not. I guess that's the way of doing it. Definitely know. But yeah, the long-term fuel trims are usually just for like initial thoughts to see if something's wrong with the car or not. But yeah, as long as they're pretty sure you guys know that it's around 10% plus or minus, right? So around there should be no worries. So once I asked that, he gave me that lesson there, or lecture, and then he was able to take off the P0102 check engine light, saying that it's a limiter that needs to be lowered in rare instances. Like I said, it depends on your car, I guess, but my car needed it to be lowered. And now that it's lowered, you shouldn't see that again. And also, it might have contributed to the stalling problem that I was experiencing. So, got that revision. At this point, it was already at, I guess, still 7. Alright. Yeah, because I did a pull and I did cruising. Okay, that makes sense. So, after telling James my issue with that, he sent me another revision that, it's an update. According to him, it should help calm down the advanced multiplier. It seems to have been getting dragged down by transient correction, which ethanol doesn't do anything to alleviate. No idea what that means. Again, I'm not a tuner, but sounds good. And flashed that tune to my car, and that's probably the latest ROM that I have. Let me see what it is now. Oh, 14, yeah. So I'm in revision 15. So after that, so I seen improvements on the advanced multiplier. It wasn't going below 0.7 anymore, but it does take a while to get to 0.1, or not 0.1. It does take a while to still get to 1, but that's my main. That was my main concern, it dropping to like 0.34, which is really bad. But as long as it's 0.7 and in between 1, I should be alright with that. In my case, I'm alright with that, because I guess the less time that the car isn't an advanced multiplier one, because I'm not too sure. I think at 1, timing becomes more aggressive, yada yada. So the less time my car is in that range, I guess, the longer it becomes reliable. At least that's what I think. But yeah, so lastly, I emailed them to get to revision 15. I emailed them about my boost. That's where I still am having trouble, because all of my maps are boosting to like 10.5. Most of them are the same. So I told them about that. Gave me another tune to alleviate that, and and I still am having trouble with it because I'm still, so like my 8 psi map is still boosting to 9.5 or 9.4, 9.3, something around there. So I'm probably gonna message him later about getting that to be lowered. So I don't want to run the car at 10 psi all the time. But again, you paid for the tune, so you paid for the service, and I do recommend James because of that. If you got a problem with your car, make sure to tell him that, and he'll happily fix it for you. Alright, so that is it with the tuning portion. I hope that this somewhat helps someone out there, but again, in most of the stuff tuning wise, I'm not too sure what I'm talking about. But for beginners, I hope that I help them get through the obstacle of understanding tuning and what to do before tuning your car. But other than that, thanks for watching, you guys. If this helps you out, please give it a thumbs up. If you guys consider subscribing, keep up with the content, I'd really appreciate that. Other than that, if you guys got any questions, comments, suggestions, to help me out, help others out, go ahead and leave that in a comment down below. And thanks for watching.